Hello, my name is Stacey and welcome to my studio on this lovely Wednesday where we will be doing our 1 hour of Pilates. So today we are focusing on the foot and the ankle. So this week I've themed myself around legs. We did knees on Monday. So we did a lot of strengthening and work around the knees and a lot of work in the big leg muscles, quads, hamstrings. So we're going to move it down now to the feet. Work a little bit more around the calves and the foot muscles, everything surrounding the ankle. And we're also going to do a little bit in the hips, so a little bit in the glutes, and finish off on a little bit of core because it's Pilates and that's what we do. And I really would like, if you're only going to do one session this week, that you're getting a whole body approach. We're not just sort of really honing in on one muscle group in one area. So for today's session, we are going to need a squishy ball. So the squishiness is important. I got this one from Rebel Sport. It cost me about $2. But a tennis ball or anything else like that will do the job. But yes, it's really important that it has a little bit of give because something that's hard could be a little bit intense for some of the stuff we're going to do. You can give it a try, sort of regress back a little bit and change it if you don't have a tennis ball or a soft ball. But yes, try and find one if you do have one. A chair or something to balance on, so you can just have your couch or whatever's nearby. If you're in your lounge room, just grab something that's around about hip height that you can hold on to for a little bit of balance. And also we are going to need a wall. So just have one nearby. If you can listen in, you can listen in, or just take your phone with you. It's the beauty of having a mobile trainer. You can take me wherever you need. So let's gather all of our things and I'll meet you back at your mat or your comfortable surface with all your stuff and we'll get started. All right, so we're here and we're ready to go. The first thing you're going to need is your squishy ball. And we're going to get straight into the feet. Now, just a reminder, if you do have any injuries around the foot and the ankle, to be wary. If you do feel like anything's going into the joint itself or it starts to feel a bit funny, please stop and regress or maybe stop the session altogether and get advice before you continue. Otherwise, let's take our squishy ball and we're going to put it right underneath what is called the metatarsal, or basically just the toe knuckle, the big toe knuckle that connects your toes into the rest of your foot. So once we're there, let's get a little balance, find the center point, bring your hands to the front of your hips and feel for a neutral spine. So what you want to feel here is that your belly is nice and flat and you're pulling the T-zone in, or you're activating the muscles between the hips. So the way we do that, just a quick reminder, is this line between the hips. We have an imaginary line, we pull that back slightly in towards the spine, about a 30% activation. So it's nothing too crazy, we're just getting it switched on. So we can bring our hands there for a little bit of physical feedback, and from here we're just going to roll. So we're going to roll, so our big toe touches the mat, and then so our little toe touches the mat. So really grab that ball with the toes, feel the muscles in the bottom of your foot, in the plantar side of your foot, activating around that ball. And what we're doing as well here is we're rotating in the hip. So my leg is straight and all of this movement is coming from my hip joint, my femur head within this ball and socket hip joint. And we're just encouraging some movement. Keep your hands on the hips as well. We want to keep the hips nice and still. So this is all coming from the hip itself. Now the ball is going to creep around and move around, so just adjust it as you need to. Put some pressure down into it. Put a little bit of pressure down into it and that will keep it under control. Keep your hips in check, making sure this is staying still. We're not rocking around through the body. So we're staying still here and letting this all come from that hip joint. Now feel the muscles starting to get active underneath the foot. Now we're going to roll it back and now bring it so that your heel is just above the ball. So imagine that the ball is the bottom part of a stiletto or a heel, and that's exactly where you want the weight to be, in the ball of the heel. Now same thing here, hands on the hips, and we're going to roll from side to side. This time we've got a bit of a bend in the knee and we've still got that rotation happening in the hip joint. So we're externally rotating and we're internally rotating at the hip joint. But this time the movement is sort of coming more into the leg because we've got a bend in the knee. So we've got a bit more of a different movement here. Still the same at the hip. And we've got the rolling happening around the heel. Again, putting pressure down through the ball as best you can. Good. So now we're going to bring the ball back to the toe, so back to the metatarsal. Bring the leg out just a little bit longer. So I'm just going to adjust my position here so that I don't go over the edge of my mat. So bring the ball underneath your toes, your toe knuckles. Take a little bit of a step out, and we're going to do a lunge over the ball. So the ball is going to act as a ball bearing as we roll forward over the foot. This is going to stay still, and our hips are going to stay traveling forward in that forward direction. So I'll give you an example here. We bend the knee, take an inhale breath, draw this in 30%, exhale, roll over the ball, land on the heel. Inhale, roll back. So we're using control with this rear leg with a bend. We're rolling forward. We're getting a massage underneath that foot. We're also starting to challenge our balance and our proprioception. Take an inhale breath, stand nice and tall, exhale, roll out. Land at the heel, inhale, exhale, roll back. Now you can start to challenge yourself a little bit and close the eyes down. This is really going to get your body talking, okay? So as soon as we close the eyes, we lose our visual feedback, and our body has to start to sense itself in space. This is called proprioception. So it's a really good thing to do, because in Pilates, that's what we aim for. We learn is proprioception. What is your body doing in space? So we close our eyes and we try to visualize where we are. So reset yourself. If you lose your balance, that's okay. Come back to the center, reset all of your stabilizing muscles, and roll forward. Roll back. Nice. If the closed eyes is too much of a challenge for you, that's totally fine. You can open them up. We'll do a few more rolls here. We're really looking for that nice smooth transition between this stabilizing leg, and just trying to keep everything traveling forward and squared to the front of your stance or wherever you are. So if your toes are pointing forwards, your hips are pointing in the same direction. And finishing up on this last one here. So that one's actually opened up through the bottom of the foot, the plantar fascia, which is this big ropey sort of fascia that sits underneath the foot that can get very, very inflamed. A lot of people who do a lot of running can get a lot of issues in the plantar fascia. And it's one of those things that, because a fascia isn't as stimulated as a muscle, it's kind of like a tendon or a ligament. If it gets damaged or if it has trouble, it takes a long time to fix it because the blood flow is so limited. So when we do this, when we roll, we're encouraging blood to go to that area because it's a sense of trauma. We're traumatizing it a little bit, and your body is sending blood there to try and fix it. It's the same as when you exercise or when you stretch, you're slightly traumatizing the muscle, blood flow increases, and then there's some healing and fixing that happens in the muscles. So that's really great to do. So what we're going to do now is swap over and do the other foot with those exercises. So let's go, set yourself up. You want your feet to be sort of train tracked. I might just turn so that you can still see from that better point of view. So you want your feet to be kind of train tracked here, not one foot in front of the other. That makes it really hard. Hands on the front of the hips or at the hips, and just keeping track or keeping an eye out for what your hips are doing. A little bit of pressure down through the ball, through those metatarsals or through the top of your foot. And we're just rolling from side to side. Now, if your ball keeps wanting to do this, jump out the side. You may want to change your surface. So you may find that carpet is better. If you've got timber floor, you might find that that's really problematic or annoying. So see if you've got a rug nearby or a mat. Or if you've got a sticky Pilates mat, that should be really good as well. So just play around with your surface, but it is important that you put pressure down through the ball. We're just doing those little rocks from side to side. This is coming from the hip. Slight bend in the knee, but mostly straight through the leg. And we're really focusing on that rotation at the hip. So all of this is still. Feel your hip working. Feel the bottom of your foot, that plantar fascia area. Feel the muscles working. So this is like doing a flex. This is like doing a flex for your foot, which we don't often do. If you wear shoes a lot, shoes train your feet to do the same thing all the time. So if you wear your shoes on grass, on the beach, on every different surface that you walk on, your feet aren't changing. They're just chilling out in the shoe. So I don't wear shoes, honestly. Like I do all of my training bare feet. The only time I wear shoes is when it's socially something that I need to do, or if I'm going to get shoe shamed. But we live in a beach town, so I generally just don't wear shoes. And I find that super, super great for my feet. So roll it back now so that the ball is at the heel, and we're doing the same thing, slight bend in the knee. And this time you kind of sort of move the top of your foot, but it's a slider movement, and we're moving the knee from side to side. And just feel that rocking through the hip, the stabilization through your deep core, and just that little bit of working into the heel, where the heel or where that fascia connects into the heel, and how that's, that might need some help or some attention. So yes, back to not wearing shoes. If you have the opportunity, take your shoes off, walk in the sand especially, and on grass with no shoes on, because the change in texture and the change in scenery for your feet is absolutely amazing. It's the same as, I guess it's the same principle as you wouldn't just do push-ups every day. You wouldn't always just do push-ups. You would do stuff for your biceps, stuff for your triceps, stuff for your shoulders, stuff for your back, because you want an all-round healthy back. Same concept for the feet. You want to give them as much opportunity to broaden their range in strength. So let's go back now. So we've got the ball back at the bottom of the metatarsal or the toe knuckle. Train track the feet again, a little bit of a step forward. Take an inhale breath, set the muscles between the hips, bend in that stabilizing leg. Exhale, scoot forward, roll the ball under your foot until it's under the heel. Inhale, draw back to our starting position. Exhale, scoot forward, keep the hips traveling forward, land at the heel. Inhale, draw back. Now, this is a really handy exercise to find your focus point, something that's a few meters in front of you, maybe down on the ground or maybe up a little bit, where you can focus and keep your balance. Now, again, the ball's going to start to escape and roll away. You just have to adjust every now and then. Now, once you've done a few reps and you're feeling good, let's see if we can close the eyes down. Start to get an proprioception. So now I'm doing this side, I'm much more stable, and that's because I've warmed myself up on the other side. So it is something that you can improve, your proprioception and your balance. You need to keep teaching your body where it is in space, even though you might not be sure. So at the moment, I'm just visualizing where my body is and what's happening, and visualizing that focus point in front of me. And this side, I'm much more stable than the other side. And this is actually my least stable leg. So this is the side I have trouble with. So that just shows you that you can work on your balance and your stability, something that you can definitely improve on. All right, coming back to the center now. So we're going to go back to this foot. I just wanted to mix it up so that we weren't hounding this one foot. Now we're going to do a little step over the ball. So we're going to bring the ball underneath the metatarsal area, again, that knuckle of the foot. Hips are square, facing towards the front of our toes in the same direction. Take an inhale breath. On the exhale, step over the ball. Now your foot that's on the ball doesn't move. What we're doing here is we're going into hip extension. So we're using the glute on that leg to extend the leg. And then we step back. So again, it's balance, it's activation, it's musculature around that ball, holding it still. But it's also some hip extension as well. So step forward. Feel your leg extend. Also feel your calf open a little bit. Squeeze the glute on that leg with the ball underneath. Step back. So let's move a little bit faster now. Inhale, exhale, step forward. Inhale, exhale, step back. Inhale, exhale, step forward. Inhale, exhale, step back. Find your focus point. You can close the eyes here as well to add that proprioceptive challenge. Visualize, imagine where that foot's going. Start to see your body in space. Start to build on that balance. Great. And let's change sides. So now, because we're changing sides as well, we're keeping the body guessing. And we're adding a variable so that we have to readjust quickly to this side, and that's going to help you with your proprioception and balance, and also with your feet. All right, so bracing over that ball, so slight pressure down with the toes, squishing down. Hips are facing forward, hands on the hips if we want to. Take an inhale breath, exhale, step forward, go into extension. So that foot over the ball doesn't move, everything stays there. Heel should be down on the mat, but opening up through the back of the leg, squeeze that glute. Inhale, exhale, step back. Inhale, exhale, step forward. Find your focus point, remember. Start to really dial into your balance. Moving on an exhale breath is really powerful. Movement to breath itself is an excellent philosophy, and that's what Pilates, essentially where it came from. But it gives you, I think it gives you a sense of purpose with your movement. If you inhale, exhale, it really gives you a guide with your movement. It helps you to activate muscles. So exhale breath is excellent for activating core and switching things on. That's why we use it in the hardest part of our movements in Pilates. I'm actually going to put a video up soon about Pilates, what it is, where it came from, what are the benefits, why you should do it. Well, you already are doing it if you're watching this, but just so that you can have a little bit of a better understanding. If people ask you, oh, like, isn't it just stretching? It's so easy. You can say, well, actually, it was developed by Joseph Pilates and it was blah, blah, blah. Originally used for World War II soldiers in rehabilitation. There's a quick little snippet for you. Let's do one more step over. Breathing, inhale, exhale, step back over the ball. Great, now let's just kick it off to the side and just pedal through the feet now. Just feel your feet. Come to a still position, standing on your mat. Plant your feet down and feel how different your feet feel. Do they feel more active? Do they feel a bit looser and a bit more limber? Are they more comfortable? Do they feel more grounded? You know, there's lots of different things we can do for the feet, and the feet really do get neglected. There's so many, you know, short videos out there for abs and glutes and all that kind of stuff, but our feet are what connects us to the ground and what gets us places, and you know, they're so important, but we forget about them. All right, so just have that nice little feeling there of grounding. And just let you sort of sit with that feeling of really nice, loose, energized feet. So we're going to come to our chair now. And we're going to start working on the calves. So we are going to be using the feet here. The feet are still going to be active and be switching on, but we're going to also bring our focus into the calf. Tiny bit of quad as well, but that's just sort of something, an accessory that we need to do this exercise. It's not focused there. So grab onto your chair and move so that you can grab the chair comfortably, so that you're not reaching forward or you're not too close, and you've got a nice neutral position in your spine. So the neutral position in your spine, if you're not sure when you're standing because you don't have that physical feedback from the earth, is all I would say is just poke your bum out, tuck your bum under, and then rest in the middle. And that is your neutral spine. You really do want to try and have a nice straight line through the body as well. So think from the crown of your head through your heart, hips, down to your heels is where you want that straight line. And we're going to focus on that as well throughout this exercise. So bring the feet closer together, not all the way together, but almost. Now take a big inhale breath and come up onto the ball of your foot. So you want the front of your ankle to be pointing forwards. What I mean by that is, this is my ankle pointing forwards. What you want to avoid is this and this. So a lot of the time when we come up onto our ankles, onto our tippy toes, we'll roll out onto the outside of our ankle, on the outside of our toes. So we want to keep it even. Big toe and little toe should feel the same amount of pressure. And this is giving us even activation through the calf muscles as well. So feet about an inch apart from the toes and about 2 inches from the heels. Inhale breath, come up onto the toes. Reach tall so that we're nice and long through the spine. Exhale, bend the knees slightly. And when we're here, we are working to have our hips directly above our heels. Now, if you want to challenge your ankle a little bit more, keep going forward until your ankle is directly above the ball of your foot and your hips are directly above your ankle. Inhale, stand up. Exhale, come down. Now we're going to do 15 of these. So let's stand up, bend the knee, reaching tall through the crown, standing back up again and lowering down. That's 1. Inhale up, exhale, bend. Ankle comes forward. Inhale up, exhale, lower. That's 2. Inhale up, exhale, bend the knees forward. Keep the hips over the heels. Inhale up, exhale down. That's 3. Inhale up, exhale, bend. Sit the hips down just a little. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, lower down. That's 4. Let's speed it up. Inhale up, exhale, bend. Inhale up, exhale, lower. That's 5. Inhale up, exhale, bend. Inhale, reach tall. Exhale to lower. Inhale, straight up. Exhale, bend the knees. Inhale, reach the crown. Lengthen. Exhale, lower. Inhale, reach up. Exhale to bend. Inhale to reach tall. Exhale to lower. That's 10. Inhale up. Exhale, bend. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale, bend. Reaching through those ankles the whole time. Inhale up. Exhale down. That's 12. Inhale, reach. Really reach tall. Exhale, bend. Get the front of the foot forward. Really focus on your positioning. Inhale, reach. Really contract the calves there and think about getting your heels up nice and high. Exhale, lower. That's 13. 2 more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bend. Keep reaching through the crown. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. 1 more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bend. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. And just shake the legs out. Now, you would have felt quite a lot happening at the front of your ankle, front of your shin, the ball of your foot, in this part of your foot, so the plantar fascia area, and in your calves. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to open up through the foot, challenge it a little bit, and feel the weight really coming down into that focused point, which is on the ball of the foot. And that's going to eventually give you some more range. Now we're just going to do like a little counter exercise. I'm just going to move my chair off to the side here. And the counter exercise we're going to use just to stretch. It's just a stretch here. So we're going to come up, just lifting one foot, it doesn't matter, onto the top of your toes. Just stretching through the front. Just feel that lovely stretch come through the front of your ankle, the front of your shin. Breathe here, nice and tall. Keep this muscles between the hips pulling down. Keep breathing. Starting to calm the heart rate if it did lift a little bit during that exercise. And release, changing sides. Coming onto the top of the toes, just pushing the front of the ankle in towards the mat. Opening up through the front of the shin and the front of the ankle. Nice and gentle, nothing too crazy here. Keep breathing. Nice work. Okay, so we've opened up there. We're going to give that part a little bit of a rest. We're going to do some roll down. So this is going to come into a hamstring stretch. So we used our hamstrings a lot on Monday if you did my Monday class. So let's give them a stretch. Now we're going to start again in that neutral standing position. Heels directly below hips, so slightly wide, directly below the hips. Spine in that nice neutral position. Reaching tall through the crown, shoulder blades are pulling down and back, and we've got that 30% pull in of the muscles between the hips, or that T-zone activation. Hands just come down by your side. Take an inhale breath. On the exhale, pull your belly button right in towards your spine, nod your chin to your chest, and start to peel your spine down. So I want you to imagine that your back is against a wall, and you are peeling it away one vertebrae at a time. Now keep the weight even in your feet, big toe, little toe, and heel. So I'm peeling my lower back away now. Hips are still stacked above my heels. Now I start to peel the hips away. I feel the stretch through my lower back. Everything that peels away from that wall is now completely limp and relaxed, and just hanging off the rest of my skeletal system. Knees come into a slight bend. Big toe, little toe, heel are even on the mat. So we're not leaning back in heels, which is an instinct that we normally go into, but let's try and actively not go into that today. When we get to the bottom, your hands, either fingertips come to the mat or to the shins, or maybe you want to grab a seat so that you can rest your hands down on something. It's really important you can rest your hands down on something. And we're going to take some pedals in the legs. So take a little bit of a bend in the knees. Inhale, breath, exhale, straighten your right leg. Inhale, breath, bend, exhale, straighten the left. Inhale to bend, exhale to straighten right. Inhale to bend, exhale to straighten left. Now I'm just going to let you go ahead and do that in your own time, to your own breath. Keep thinking about trying to reach your tailbone up towards the ceiling. Now we've done a few pedals. We're going to bend the knees a little bit. Grab onto the elbows. So webbing of the thumb reaches to the opposite elbow if that's comfortable for you. If not, you can just keep your hands resting on what you've got in front. And here we are going to hang forward in this forward fold. In yoga, this is called Uttasana. Breathe here. So on your inhale breath, I want you to imagine you're filling your body with nice oxygen. On the exhale breath, you're exhaling out tension. Inhale, you're breathing in nourishing oxygen. Exhale, you're breathing out tension, and see if you can just take a little bit more out of that forward fold, that bend. Now, it doesn't matter how bent your knees are. If your knees are bent all the way up like this, if you can't get your chest all the way down, if you've got a big round through your spine, it's okay, because this is a stretch we are looking for here. We're looking for a relaxing stretch. We don't want to be feeling like we have to activate anything. If you don't like it, you can come out of it earlier. Now, release the hands, take an inhale breath. Press down, big toe, little toe, heel, slight bend in the knees. On the exhale, draw your belly button into your spine, and we're going to very, very slowly reverse that roll down process. So, first thing we'll do is we'll stack our hips back, then the lower back comes up, then the mid back, then the upper back. The very last thing that will come up is your head and eyes. Now take a second here. All of the blood is going back. So you just filled your head up with blood, and now it's going to come rushing back down to the rest of your body. So if you do get a little bit dizzy, just take a second, take a few big deep breaths. Grab a drink of water if you need one. Excellent work. So we're going to come back now into our calves. We're going to have a little bit of quad activation as well, but we want to keep it in the calf. So this is where we need the wall. So find your wall now. Pause if you need to find your space, reset yourself up. You can also use the side of a couch, or basically anything that is solid that will take your weight. Now we're going to come into a quarter squat wall sit. So key elements here: shoulder blades. Oh, that's cold. Shoulder blades and your hips. So your hip bones, the bony part of your hips, are strong in against the wall. You've still got a neutral spine. So you may have a gap there, you may not, but still visualize your neutral spine. If you need to, poke your bum out, tuck your hips under, find the middle. There's your neutral spine. Now bring your feet in a little bit, just a little bit, so that your knee is just in front of your heel. Your knee is sort of, when you look down, right in the middle of your foot. So it should be just above the middle part of your foot and in line with your middle toes. Now you can brace yourself here, because we don't want to focus on the quads, but they're going to start working. And we're going to take an inhale, exhale, come up onto the ball of your foot, press the front of your ankle forwards and feel your calf switch on. Inhale, tap, exhale, lift. Inhale, tap, exhale to lift. All right, so this is starting to get strong in the quads, in the calves. And we're just tapping. You can probably see that I'm shaking a bit here. It's a shaky exercise. Tap, lift. Tap, lift. Good work. Let's do a few more. Keep breathing. Keep that 30% activation in the T-zone. And 3, 2, hang in there. 1, let's push up off the wall. Shake the legs. All right, now we've done that sort of supported calf lift. Grab your chair again or your stabilizing object, and we're going to do some single leg calf lifts. So this is intended to get strong into your calf, but also, you know, all your feet are going to strengthen around this as well. So let's float our right leg up off the mat, if we can float it completely. If not, just have a toe balancing. Now remember, stabilizing through this leg is really important, this left leg. So really feel everything switched on. This is still at 30%. We don't want to be hip popping. We don't want to be hip lifting. We want to stay in that nice long plumb line. Now inhale to lift up, front of the ankle faces towards the front of your room or the front of where you are. Hold, squeeze the calf, feel the activation. Inhale, exhale, slowly lower, tap lift. So this is what we call a negative movement. So we hold the top, we slowly lower, we fight against gravity. At the bottom, we tap and then lift. We do a powerful positive movement. We do a slow controlled negative. Tap, lift. So feel that really getting into your calf. So we're going to do 15. This is 4. Slow, lower, tap, and then lift. 5, if you need to do it to a breath. Inhale, exhale, up. Inhale, exhale. So we're at about 7. Up. 8, slow, lower, and up. 9, feeling it. Slow, lower, tap. 10, we've got 5 to go. Slowly lower, tap. 11, feel the whole leg starting to go on fire now. Slow, lower, tap. 12, keep that slight bend in the knee. Tap. 13, 2 more. Tap. 14, last one. Tap. 15, great work. Shake your leg. Shake it out, give it a little rest. It's going to get rest after this anyway. I'm going to bring my chair over here, but all you need to do is simply change sides so you've got something to stabilize on your right side. All right, after this, we're going to come down to the mat. So we're sort of going to stop doing all of this stuff down on the foot. It's had its turn and the calf, and we're going to get into the hips and a little bit of core before we finish. So this is our last one on the foot, ankle, calf. Now stabilize through that right leg. Long and straight balance over the heel, floating this leg as best you can. You can have that little tap there with the toe if you need it. Now remember, we press up, little bend in the knee, hold. Ooh. Inhale, exhale, slow lower, tap lift. 1. Slowly lower down, tap lift straight away. 2, it's powerful explosion as soon as we tap. 3, slowly lower, tap. 4, slow lower, count if you need to, tap. 5, we can go 3, 2, 1, lift. 6, 3, 2, 1, lift. 7, 3, 2, 1, lift. 8, 3, 2, 1, lift. 9, we're so close. 3, 2, 1, lift. 10, we got 5 to go. 3, 2, 1, lift. 11, 3, 2, 1, lift. 12, keep that bend in the knee. 3, 2, 1, lift. 13, 2 to go. 3, 2, 1, lift. 14, 3, 2, 1, lift 15. Ooh, shake that leg out. There you go, calf, you're awake and you're alive. Alrighty, so that is that component done. That's all done now. You can have a rest. We're going to do a little bit of hip work, a little bit of core work. Like I said, I'm just going to move this chair out of the way. Let's grab a drink if you need a drink. Big believer in water breaks. All right, now coming down to your mat, we're going to do a little side lying. All right, so let's set ourselves up in our side lying position. The first thing we're going to do is bicycle, so we need a bend in the knees as if you're lying on your back to do a sit-up, but we're on our side. So 90 degrees, heels, hips, heart, head in a nice big long straight line, all the H's, ankles, knees, hips, stacked. Once you get there, set everything up, switch everything on. Fingertip in here to keep telling the T-zone, turn on, turn on. Rib to hip connection, a little bit of a lift in the side of the waist, shoulders down and back. Now, float this top leg up so it is in line with your top hip. Now, I'll give you the movement and then I'll introduce the breath. So, we bend the knee and slide it forward so that we're mirroring the bottom leg. We then flex the toes back, extend, sweep back. So we point, bend, come forward, flex, extend, go back. So keep it nice and slow. Keep this leg up in line with this hip. Don't let it start dropping down here. Point, bend, sweep forward, flex, extend, sweep back. So let's put some breath in. Inhale as we point, bend, and sweep forward. Exhale as we flex, extend, sweep back. So when I say flex, I'm talking about the foot. We point, bend, sweep forward. Inhale, exhale, flex, extend, sweep back. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, extend, sweep back. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, extend, sweep back. So keep this up and I'll take you through the concentration points. Keep working at your own pace, at your own breath. If you forget the movement, come out of it for a second. Just watch me for a few and then come back into it. Now, very important points here. When we extend back, stay in control here. Think rib to hip connection. Don't let the ribs flare and the movement come into the spine. It's all about the hip here. So keep everything from here up completely still. Keep this waist pulling up so that we're in an active hip position. We're not slumping down through the waist. Ribs to hips, shoulders down and back. Now when we sweep forward, really feel that come from this part of the leg. When we come back, squeeze that hip, find that nice neutral line through the body. We don't want to go into extension of the hip. We just want to finish in that plumb line from top to bottom. Now, you can have a little rest if you need the rest, and we're going to reverse that process now. So we're going to go just as you got it in your head, we're going to reverse it. So now we are going to come forward, straight line, bend, come back, straighten out. So this one, less cueing, we just come forward in a straight line, we bend, we come back with that bend in the knee, so our heel comes behind our body, and then we straighten the leg. Forward in a straight line, bend the knee, come back, so just opening the hip, that's all we're doing there, extend. So we've got a little bit more happening here in terms of the hip, because when we move back, we've got weight at the back of the body, so we really need to control this rib to hip and this T-zone activation at the back of the movement. Now let's just do a few more here, breathing as well, so inhale as we sweep forward, exhale as we bend and sweep back. We always exhale on that sweeping back because that tells our core to switch on. Inhale as we sweep forward, exhale as we bend and sweep back. Let's do one more. Inhale forward, bend, sweep back, exhale, and rest. Rest, rest, rest. Massage, massage, massage. Ooh, needs it, that one, doesn't it? Now let's roll over to the other side. Setting ourselves up. So we've got heels, hips, heart, head in a nice big long straight line. We've got 90 degrees at the knees, and ankles, knees and hips are stacked. So let's bring our body down. And again, this is proprioception. So this is understanding where your body is in space. You'll be surprised how many times I will take a Pilates class and I'll say, you know, bend your knees and bring your heels in line with the hips, and someone will be out here. And they just think that they're doing that. In their head, they're like, yeah, I'm doing it. What are you talking about? So sometimes it just takes either a visual cue or sometimes just something as simple as a little touch to say, hey, just rein it back in, have a look, you know, pay attention to what's happening. And then you get used to that position and you know, you can feel when you're not in the right position. So it's really quite a good thing to practice with Pilates. That's why I'm so particular with how we set ourselves up, because then we get used to setting ourselves up that way and we just keep doing it like that. So let's go fingertip to the TA, the deep core there, switching that on or telling that to switch on 30%. Rib to hip, shoulders down and back, a little bit of this waist coming up away from the mat. Now let's float that top leg up in line with the body. So we have got a nice big long straight line now, that plumb line from head down to heel. Now we'll do the movement first, then we'll introduce the breath. So we sweep forward, bend the knee, mirror that bottom leg, flex the toes back, extend the leg, sweep back, keep it up, in line with the hip, if not a tiny bit higher for that activation in this muscle here. Bend and sweep forward, flex, extend, sweep back, keep rib to hip as we sweep back, really focus on that. Use that exhale breath. Inhale, sweep forward. Exhale, flex, extend, sweep back. Inhale, point, bend, sweep forward. Exhale, flex, extend, sweep back. Inhale, point, bend, sweep forward. Exhale, flex, extend, sweep back. Keep that song going in your head as I talk about points. All right, so again, really focus on that leg height. We want it to stay up level with the hip, if not just a bit higher. As we get to the back, squeeze that hip, squeeze it really, really strong, that glute muscle. And as we bring that hip back to the straight line, so we're really targeting the right muscles here, keeping it all in this glute hip area. Now this muscle that we're using, glute med, glute min, glute max is using as well, but glute med mostly is really important for what your knees do. And then in turn, that is important for what your ankles and feet do. All right, so we'll do a few more here. Keep breathing in, out as we go back. Inhale as we come forward. Exhale as we go back. Now let's hold here. Have a look. See, am I in a straight line? You could be all the way back here. You could be all the way here. So have a quick look if you need to. Point the toe. Now we bend, sweep forward. We sweep forward in a straight line. Sorry guys, had a little brain fart. Then we flex back, bend, sweep back. So bring in the heel behind the body. Point, reach long, sweep forward, inhale. Exhale, flex, bend, pull back, keeping the heel where it is, keeping the knee where it is. All we're doing is extending the hip. Point, reach long, sweep forward, flex, bend, sweep back at the hip. Inhale as we point and sweep forward. Exhale as we flex, bend and sweep back. So just keep that in the back of your mind. The inhale as we come forward. The exhale as we come back. We really want to keep the mind on the breath connected to the body, because that's what we do in Pilates. We really, really need to think about the breath and the body. Good work. Keep it up. Let's do 2 more. Now, if you don't get the feet right, if the feet are confusing the hell out of you, don't worry about the feet. Just let your foot do whatever it wants and focus on the hip and the knee. As long as we're extending straight, we sweep forward at the hip. We bend the knee, then we sweep back at the hip. And we're finished here. Let's come into a stretch and a little massage of the hip if you ever so need it, which you probably do. All right, now let's come into a seated staff position. So we've got our legs out in front of us, our hands beside us. Take a bend in the knee if you're tight through the hamstrings. We've done a little bit of limb bring and work through the back of the leg when we did our roll down to prepare for this next part. However, you could still be a little bit tight there, and that's totally fine. I'm a little bit tight from Monday's session. So we are going to take a little bit more of an opportunity to stretch here. So we're going to do two variations. This first one is an intense back body stretch, and I want to see how it goes for you and just play it by ear. So legs out in front, slight bend in the knee if you want to. You can also put a pillow, bolster, or folded up blanket under the hips. Raising the hips does help you with this seated position just a little bit because it reduces the angle at the hips, reduces the amount of work you have to do with your hip flexors in order to stay here. So, as straight as we can through the legs. Inhale, sweep the hands up overhead and cross them over so that your elbows are pointed towards the ceiling. Your left palm is on top of your right hand and your right hand is resting in the middle of your back. Take an inhale breath. On the exhale, we're going to suck the belly into the spine and nod the chin and roll down. Very, very slowly. So this is a roll down of the upper body. We're not trying to fold at the hips. The hips are staying neutral. This is all coming from the spine. Now, feel the stretch at the bottom. This is a neural stretch, so you're going to feel it down all the way down the back of your body. So we're going to inhale here, exhale, point the toes. Inhale, draw the toes back to the shins. Feel that sort of little bit of neural electricity. Exhale, point. Inhale, draw back. If you don't like the drawing back, you can stay in a pointed position. Inhale to point. Exhale, draw back. Now come back to a neutral position. Let your feet just comfortably relax. Take an inhale breath. On the exhale, suck the belly button in towards the spine, rolling up slowly, stacking our body back on top of our hips. Let's do this one more time. Inhale, breath, reaching tall. Elbows come to the ceiling. Exhale, belly button to spine, nod the chin to the chest, slowly rolling down from the top, just like we did in that standing roll down. But this time, our hips aren't folding. We're only doing the back, upper body. So keep rolling down until you're sort of pointing your crown down towards the earth. Now this is a stretch through the spine. It also encourages that little bit of neural plasticity. So inhale, draw the toes back. Exhale, point the toes forward. Inhale to draw back. Exhale to point forward. Now if you suffer from sciatica, this is not going to be the best thing for you. I would say sit this one out. Breathing to the movement of the toes. Now let's come back to a neutral position. Inhale, breath, exhale, tuck the belly button in, roll back up. Bring the hands out in front, take an inhale breath on the exhale. This time we hinge forward from the hips. Bend the knees slightly if you need it. Grab onto your shins, ankles or feet. Reach forward with the crown with the top of your head and fold down. Breathe here. So this one, we are trying to do the opposite of what we did just then. We are hinging at the hips, reaching tall through the body and through the crown. And we're avoiding the curl or curve through the spine. This one, we're trying to get really into the hamstrings. So the first one we did was back. This next one we're doing now is hamstrings. We want to feel at the back of the legs. So really reach tall. Keep reaching tall and long. Through the spine, through the crown, through the chest. Breathing here. You will have a little bit of flexion in the spine. It's unavoidable because we are flexing forward. Your spine has to flex to make room for this movement, which is a good thing because you want your spine to be able to flex when you bend forward. You don't want it to be stiff and rigid. But you do want this to come from the hamstrings as a stretch. So we do want to encourage that folding forward of the hip and the closing of the hip joint. Now, let's come back to the seated position. Slight bend in the knees if we need it. Hands are going to come in front. Now we're going to do our bow, which is a core exercise that focuses on the obliques and the hip flexors. And I spoke about hip flexors and their importance in my Monday session. Always being told that our hips are tight, never being told that they are weak, which they probably are. If you're sitting a lot, then your hips will be tight and weak. So we need to strengthen hips. We need to open and strengthen the hips. Really important. A lot of people don't think that something can be tight and weak at the same time, but it definitely can. And the hips are a great example. So hands out in front, pointing towards the toes. Arms are parallel, reaching tall through the crown, finding a neutral spine. Inhale. Exhale. Tuck the hips under, start to roll down. Keep the heels down on the mat. This is key. Bring the feet together and squeeze the heels together. This will help. Now, halfway down. We're meeting halfway here. For you, halfway could be up here. That's totally fine. Just find your halfway where you can feel all of that tension and weight on your core and your abs and your hips. Now take an inhale breath. On the exhale, we are going to rotate to the right. Upper body rotating on the thoracic spine. Inhale breath. Exhale, come back to the center. Inhale, exhale, let's go to the left. Ballerina arms, we're just rotating through the torso here. Keep the heels down. Inhale, come back to the center. Keep the shoulders down and back. Exhale, let's go to the right. We're going to do 6 of these. Inhale, come back to the center. Exhale, reset T-zone, ribs to hips, pull these muscles down nice and tight. Exhale, rotating around to the left. So we're doing a few things here. We're flexing, rotating through the spine. We're using our big core muscles, rectus abdominis, our hips, and our obliques. This is an awesome exercise. Shoulders down and back. We've got 2 more. Inhale. Exhale, rotating to the right. Keeping our arms parallel to the ground. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, rotate to the left. Inhale, come back to center. Inhale, breath. Exhale, roll up. Bend the knees. Fold forward into a little recovery. So that was challenging. Yes, it was. We're going to do that again. Another 6 rounds or 6 reps. And like I said, I really want you to feel the focus in all of those points. The hip flexors, the rectus abdominis, which is our 6-pack muscles, and our obliques, which are the side core muscles. Just rolling through the hips, feeling something that's nice for you. I'm going to do a nice stretch at the end of this as well. After this, we've got 1 more exercise, and then it is cool down and recovery. All right, so sitting up nice and tall, fingertips towards the front of the mat or towards your toes. Shoulders are down and back, reaching tall through the spine and crown, T-zone, and neutral spine, all of those things. Inhale, breath. Exhale, tuck the hips under, squeeze the heels together, keep them down on the mat, rolling back to our halfway point. Once we're here, settle in. Ground down through the hip bones, really get this rib to hip connection established. Now, if you need to do 2 reps and rest, please do that. I would rather you rested and came back and did good reps than push through and get a little bit sloppy. Inhale, breath. Exhale, rotate around to the right. Arms are parallel to the mat. Feel this side body here really engage. Inhale, come back to the center. Exhale, let's go to the left. Inhale, come back to the center. Exhale, rotating through the spine to the right. Arms stay parallel. Inhale, come back to the center. Exhale to the left. T-zone tight, shoulders down and back. Exhale to the center. 2 more here. Inhale, T-zone, shoulders down and back. Exhale, rotating around to the right through the spine. Feel this muscle here. Inhale to the center. Exhale to the left. Inhale to the center, and whew, up we come. Let's bring our feet together, knees wide. Let our hips just relax for a second here. What we can do is we can sit back and let them fully open. So this position here disengages the hips mostly. Just lets them relax for a bit. Now we've got 1 more exercise. We're going to do 3 rounds and we're going to hold for breaths. So I'm going to let you choose how long you do the exercise for, but I would like you to focus on big, deep, long drawing breaths. So our final exercise we're going to do is boat pose. Now this one has a few variations, and again, we're doing the same thing. So we're thinking rib to hip connection here, keeping this really strong active. We're using our hip flexors. This is a strong hip flexor activity and exercise. So that is a good thing. Please don't think it's a bad thing. If it does get too strong for the hips, just come out of it early, rest, stretch if you need to, a nice big long stretch out here, and then you can come back into the exercise. But let's see how we go. So first rounds. Now our options we'll set up, reaching tall through the crown, grab behind the thighs, take an inhale, breath on the exhale, rock back with the upper body in a straight line, float the feet up off the mat. So we can go here, feet just above the mat, less intense on the hips. We can go higher, so our shins parallel, still holding behind the thighs, but just a little bit of support. So we're not holding ourselves here and just hanging out in this pointless sort of whatever. All right, we're still active. Reaching through the crown, rib to hip connection, T-zone is tight, or we can go the full hog, hands out by the shins. And we're gonna hold for 10 breaths. Inhale, exhale, shoulders down and back. Inhale, T-zone. Exhale, shoulders down and back. 2, inhale. 3, 4, 5. Now, if you're feeling it really strong in your hip flexors, which I am, come out and rest. Please come out and rest. The idea of this exercise is to activate the muscles, not to completely fatigue them. We just want to activate them and start switching them on and get the body talking to the muscle. Once we get completely fatigued, then our form just will completely go out the window. So reset yourself up. We did 5 breaths there, so let's do another 5. Inhale, floating up. If you did your 10 straight, excellent. You go, Glen Coco, you keep going. Inhale, reach tall. Exhale, shoulders down and back. T-zone tight. This is 3. This is 4. 5. Floating the feet down, opening at the hips, stretching out. Release. Whew. All right, we've got another round. Boat pose. 10 breaths. Again, if you just want to do 5, just do 5. If 5 feels right for you today, then do 5 breaths and have a longer rest. I'd rather you do that and do it well than do 10 breaths and do it not so well. All right, let's set ourselves up again. Hands behind the knees. Float the feet either just off the mat or up to parallel. Find your level and start to breathe. Inhale, shoulders down and back. Exhale, T-zone. Solid grounding through the hips, reaching tall through the crown. That's 5 for me. I'm resting, listening to my body, and I'm taking my rest. Another 5. If you're cracking through, you just keep going at your own pace. Just know we're doing 3 rounds, 10 breaths each. You just do you. That's 10. I've got 1 round left. Going to 10. All right, let's go. Final round. If you're already finished, you get extra rest. All right, floating the shins. Keep reaching tall. That's 6 for me. T-zone tight, shoulders down and back. That's 8. That's 9. 10. Woohoo! Nice work. Alrighty, so that is the session done. We're going to do a nice little recovery and stretch. First of all, let's roll onto our bellies and just open up through the front of our body. So we did all that really strong hip work, and I just want to give them a chance to switch off and relax. So elbows come underneath the shoulders, palms come down onto the mat, push up through the shoulder blades so we're nice and strong, and feel that opening through the front of the belly. As soon as you press up through the shoulder blades, imagine you're trying to pull your shoulders away from your ears. Now we don't want this coming into the lower back. We're not doing a lumbar extension activity here. We're just doing an opening. We do extend slightly through the lower back, but it's not like this big full cobra bend in the back thing. It's just an open. And cobra actually isn't supposed to be a strong back extension. You are supposed to still have a lot of control around the extension in your spine, but obviously everyone does what they want to do. If you want to do strong extension work, then you can do that. Keep reaching. Imagine you're sliding your hands back towards your hips. This will help you to open up through the core and the front of the body a little bit more. Press down through the tops of your toes just a little bit. Breathing here. Now we're going to come up onto the toes and press back onto the knees. Bring the big toes together, untuck the toes, knees nice and wide, and we are now in what's called balasana. So this is an extended version where our knees are open. Just gives us a little bit more space in the hips at the front there. So if you haven't got much space there, if you feel tight or closed, or if this is just not working for you, bring the knees wide or keep them together, whatever you like. And I'm just going to stay up here on my elbows and focus on lengthening through my spine, reaching tall through my crown. Breathing here. Now we can relax down a bit. Feel that flexion come into the back. That little bit of opening through the lower back, lower spine. Remember, everybody's body is made up differently. I'm very long and tall, and I find it really hard to come into full flexion at my hip because my hamstrings are already so long. I stretch them all the time. I do split practice. I do all of this stuff. But it's just anatomically the way that I'm made up. I find it really hard to come into a pure. So this for me, this is a really hard pose for me. My hips are working really, really hard, and it could be for you as well. To properly come into a proper neutral spine, for me, that's just really difficult. And, just be gentle with yourself and know that your body's not going to look like mine and mine's not going to look like yours. It doesn't matter what we do. We are made the way we are, and we may as well work with what we've got, hey. So let's come onto the fingers, onto the hands now, pressing down through the fingertips, through the knuckle of the palm. Hinge forward, and we're just going to bring our weight up so that we've got our hips up to the ceiling. We don't need to be in this full downward dog position. All we're looking for here is a calf stretch. So we're going to bend the knees, come up onto the toes, and I want you to bend and sink into the knees and really bend down. Now, if you don't want to be up on your hands like this is too hard, just come to the elbows. You can do the same thing from the elbows. Or you can do it leaning on the edge of a couch or on the edge of a chair. But I find the best leverage here. So, really deep bend in the knees. Try and bring the knees down towards the mat. Now this is getting into the Achilles. Now you're going to feel this like a bit of a burn or a bit of heat come into the quads. It's okay if you're happy with it. Now straighten up through the legs, and we're going to take an inhale breath, exhale, sink the right heel down to the mat and really try and straighten that leg up. Bring big toe, little toe, heel evenly weighted on the ground so we're not rolling out through the ankle, and feel your calf sing with joy as it opens up. Now this is really important that what your hips are doing. So if you're rounding through the hips, you're not going to get as good a stretch. So point the hips up. Breathe here. Inhale, bend that right leg. Exhale, extend the left. Point the tailbone up. Feel that really beautiful stretch down the calf. Breathing here into the stretch. Now coming back to a central bent knee position, we're going to step that right foot forward so our knee comes between our hands and allow the left leg to extend back. So right heel is next to the left hip. Really, really extending forward. So think about squaring the hips and reaching the upper part of your body towards the front of your mat. Again, we're not trying to come into this big deep back bend here. We're just trying to lengthen through the spine. Feel this, a little bit of length and extension in the lower back, and a stretch through that front glute and a stretch through the back hip. Great, great stretch if you can get there. Now, if your hip on this side is really floating up and feeling like it's unstable, chuck pillows, blankets, whatever you've got around, chuck it underneath the hip so that you can get comfortable here. So you can feel like, I can switch some muscles off and release and really relax into this stretch. Now, if you've got the range or if you're happy with it, you can come down onto the elbows. Just stack your hands up for a little pillow for your head and relax here. Breathe. Take a little rocking motion through the hips if that's what you would like. Just feel that really nice opening through your front outer hip. So the front leg, outer hip is just getting a really beautiful open. The glute's getting a good stretch. This will be getting into that glute med that we did on that bicycle. And let's very, very slowly come back onto the hands. Tuck that rear toe, press the knee up off the mat. Take an inhale breath, exhale. Let's pluck that right foot off the mat. Step back again, bending the knees, just coming into this easeful position. And we're going to now tuck that left knee in towards the chest, land it between the hands. Little bit of a extension at the knee so that that left heel ends up right next to the right hip. And we're going to hold here for a minute because this is a hip opening stretch and it feels so nice for me right now. In my deep hip rotators on the inside of my hip, at the front of my hip, in my big ropey hip flexor, I can feel that. I've got a tiny bit of extension happening at my back, which is encouraging more stretch at the hips. So take what works for you. If you can extend in the spine comfortably, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that you need to be wary of it and doing it in a controlled environment, controlled position. Same thing here. If you've got a lot of floating in this hip, so if you're up here with this hip, pillows, blankets, towels, children, no, don't do that. Whatever you've got underneath your hip, so that you are comfortable here and that you can breathe a sigh of relief and go, I like this. Now, if you wish, you can, on an exhale breath, come down to the forearms, stack up that fist pillow and rest here. Feel that stretch now transition more into the hip of the front leg, the glute, the outside of that leg. Breathing. Remember, find that point of wise effort. Use just enough of the muscles you need to stay here. Switch everything else off. Switch your tummy off. We always have our belly engaged. We're always tucking it in and switching it on, which is not a bad thing, but we still need to rest it. We need to give it that rest and allow it to switch off every now and then to tell it's okay. When we're in a safe position, it can relax. Rocking through the hips if that feels nice for you. And now we're just going to rock onto the outside of that front hip and swing around so we're seated. So I'm just taking a cross-legged position here. All we're going to do is just, bring ourselves back to a nice calm center before we walk away from the mat today. So hands down onto the thighs. Find a nice long spine, a comfortable seated position, whatever that is for you. You can lie down if you want to. There is no hard, fast rule for this. It is about you. Personal preference, what works for you. Find that lovely position where you just feel nice. We're just going to sit here for a couple of breaths. Close the eyes down. If you wish, you don't have to. Find your nice center of gravity. Start to bring your attention into the breath. In through the nose and out through the nose. Focus on relaxing the muscles around the eyes and in the jaw. Every exhale breath, see if you can switch off another tiny muscle around your eyes and another tiny muscle in your jaw. Let your shoulders just relax and sink into a comfortable lazy position. We'll take a few big deep breaths together in through the nose, filling our lungs and our belly. Pause for a second at the top, exhale. Out through the nose, slightly restrict the breath so that it can come out slowly and under control. Let's do that again. Big inhale, breath through the nose. Pause at the top, exhale. Press the tongue to the top of your mouth and imagine you're fogging a mirror on that exhale breath, and that will help you find that little bit of restriction and control in the exhale breath. Let's do that again. And just be for a second. Opening the eyes when you're ready. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Excellent effort, great work for getting through that whole entire workout. It was tough and I felt it. Now, as usual, on Friday, I have my full body flow this week. I'm keeping my attention in the lower limb, and it is going to be a relaxing full body flow on the mats, which will be a really nice way to end the week working out and work and school and whatever it is that you're doing. That's just going to zen you for the weekend. So I hope you have an excellent day, and I look forward to seeing you here in my studio again. Bye.